Alright guys, how are we all doing? MultiGen Gamer back again with another video. Now if you saw my last one, you'll know that I had a wee bit of an accident and fractured my elbow. Well, I'm not going to let that get in the way of letting this channel continue. But if you want to hear the story of that, go ahead and check my last video. And this time I thought perhaps we could do something where I'm only going to need one hand to do it. And go through all of the games which I've bought over the last couple of months. Now, lots of these games you might have already heard of, you might have seen them on the shelf or played them yourself, but then again you might not have. Some of these might be hidden gems for all you know. But I thought I'd show you all of these games anyway, and let you know what they're about, and we'll just have a bit of fun with it. Why not? Hello fellow gamers, and these were all the games that I picked up over the last couple of months. Okay, so the first game that we've got here is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe on the Switch. Those of you who are astute already know that this is in fact a re-release of the Wii U original. But it includes all of the Super Luigi U levels on there as well, and a few other little bonus levels as well and challenges. I decided I'd pick this up even though I've already got it on the Wii U. But I decided, you know what, I want to be able to play it anywhere I want, so that's pretty alright. The next one is Yooka-Laylee. Of course, if anyone's seen my launch video, you'll have seen me doing an unboxing of that. I'll have a link down below if you want to have a look at it. But I got this as part of a limited run, and it was in fact the collector's edition that I picked up, which had a whole bunch of extra goodies on it. But for anyone who doesn't know what this game is about, it's very much like Banjo-Kazooie from the 90s and the early noughties on the N64. And I've had a few goes through this since I did the unboxing, and it's really rather a charming little game. Rather like it. Right, let's move on to the GameCube, and the first one I've got here is Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. This is a continuation of the Metroid Prime series, and it's a very highly acclaimed game. I'm actually really eager to see what Prime 4 on the Switch is going to be like. And I've had a quick go through this, really jolly good fun. The controls take a little bit of getting used to. I think we're all used to standardized controls when it comes to a first-person shooter, and this doesn't follow a lot of them. But if you see this out in the wild, it's worth a pickup. It really is. The next game we've got for the GameCube is the Sonic Mega Collection. It's a collection of classic Sonic games, like the first three, Sonic & Knuckles, 3D, Sonic Spinball, and a couple of others as well, including a few Game Gear games, if I recall, as well. Now, I used to own the Mega Collection Plus on the PS2, but for some reason I sold it. This is a way for me to get back into that, and it's really good. And in fact, the picture quality on it is really good as well. They've done an excellent job of porting these games over to what was then a modern system. What I really like about this as well, it's got a whole bunch of extra videos included on it, including the intro video for Sonic CD. In the past, I only ever saw screenshots and video snippets on old TV shows before getting a hold of this. So I hadn't seen the whole thing until I got this. It was excellent. Now, if only the 90s Sonic cartoon actually followed that same art style. Oh well. The next one on the list is Viewtiful Joe for the GameCube. Now I've got the pink labelled one. There are two different types. There's a yellow one as well, but according to the label on the back here, they're both exactly the same, so it doesn't matter which one you get. This is another highly acclaimed game. I haven't played much of it, but from what I can see, it's like a side-scrolling brawler. But the graphics are really nice. There's a bit of cel shading on that as well, and it seems to have stood the test of time. I would definitely recommend people pick this up from the limited play that I've had of it so far. So let's carry on though with the N64, Pokémon Snap. This was a game that, well, it went on to the wayside for me originally when it first came out. I wasn't all that interested in it. I was really more interested in the original RPGs that were on the Game Boy. But nonetheless, I've now got hold of this, and for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's a on-rail shooter. Now, no, you're not shooting Pokemon with a gun, you're actually shooting them with your camera. You're playing as one of the side characters from one of the early series. I forget his name, the name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, it's really interesting. Get as many photos as you can of different Pokemon and send them back to Professor Oak, who judges them. And yeah, it's a neat little game. Now this one is a beaut. Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the N64 again. Now the first time I played this, goodness me, it was in the late 90s. I think it was a friend's copy that I borrowed, and I think I borrowed it for at least a couple of months. I went through the entire campaign and completed all the levels, and it was so much fun. It had a lot of critical acclaim when it came out, and I even had it on PC, and that led me to even getting hold of a N64 to USB adapter, so I could use my N64 controller playing the PC version, which was actually pretty radical at the time. Now, I'm going to say, if you see this out in the wild and you've got an N64, you have to get it. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, it's a great sci-fi shooter. Now, EA, take note. This is how you make a Star Wars game. The next N64 game, yes, there is another, is one that is actually kind of rubbish. I got GT64 Championship Edition. Why is it rubbish? Well, you can see from the footage here, it's very slow. The graphics are actually a bit more blurry than you might hope, even for an N64 game. And the frame rate is just absolutely shocking. It actually improved a little bit if you are in the in-car view as opposed to seeing the car from the outside. Oh well, I'm glad I picked this up for only a couple of quid. The next game that I picked up was something which I had tried and didn't have much interest in as a child, and that was Space Station Silicon Valley. Obviously the cartridge could be in better condition, but it works. I remember hiring this, believe it or not, from Blockbuster for at least a week. It must have been about a week. And I went through a lot of the campaign, and you know what? It really wasn't what I was expecting. And when I tried it out, I was a bit disappointed, but at least I only paid about £5 or so to hire it for a few days, as opposed to paying about 60 quid at the time to buy the game and then be disappointed. So that's another close call, I guess. But I picked it up because I thought I'll give it another chance. There were a few games that I tried out when I was younger that I didn't quite fully appreciate. Shock Horror, actually, one of those games is Zelda Majora's Mask. I actually lost interest in that very quickly, but I replayed it again a few years ago when I got a new 3DS, and it's absolutely amazing. So I clearly didn't understand it, and I'm hoping it will be the same with Space Station Silicon Valley. Right, the last N64 game is Revolt. Now, I've heard a lot about this game from various other YouTubers, but they don't talk about the N64 version. They tend to talk more about the PlayStation version. For those of you who don't know, it's a racing game with RC cars, as you can see on this footage. And I had a little playthrough with this, as little as I could with my bad arm, and the mechanics seem pretty accurate. Just like you would with a normal RC car, if you turn it a little too sharply, you're going to end up just doing a whole 360. And as a result, yep, I found out I'm pretty rubbish at it. I'm hoping to get a bit of practice in though. Right, now the next 3 games that I've got here are imports from Japan. They were in fact donated to me by a colleague of mine at work. And rather interesting actually. They're not games which I would have thought of at first. Now, I'm going to be terrible at trying to pronounce this. I've got it on the screen here. There's a Pro Yakuu Family Stadium, I think that is. It's the original one, and when I was doing a bit of research on this, apparently there were lots of different versions of these. It was one of those baseball games which was released every year in Japan, and it looks like just any other baseball game on the NES. In fact, it's very close to what my copy of baseball looks like on Game Boy. It's almost identical, except it's in colour. But it's really interesting to see this one. What I love about it as well is that it is in really, really nice condition. It's immaculate, in fact. I'm showing you footage here, but I didn't play this. Unfortunately, I don't have a Famicom, so I'm unable to try it out. The other two, which were donated to me from him as well, is Super High Impact. There's not really much to say about this. It's rugby, American football, one of the two. You'll see some footage on the screen, you'll see what I mean. And another one which I'm probably going to butcher the name of. So let's see what we can do here. It's a Super Gachapon World SD Gundam X. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that looks like a pretty interesting game. It's kind of a turn-based strategy game with mechs. So that'll be really interesting. Unfortunately, again, I can't play this because my SNES, which is behind me here, is a European one and doesn't play Japanese titles. But I could always get an adapter. Still though, I really appreciate these donations. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to be making a start on the Wii games that I picked up. I've just got a small handful here. The first title is Punch-Out for the Wii. It's just a continuation of the Punch-Out games that we saw on the NES and the SNES. Now, I've had a quick look at this. I unfortunately can't play it because of my duff arm, but it looks just as good as I remember it. Great find, that. The next game is a bit of a controversial one. Metroid Other M. Now, to be honest, this had to hit the ground running because it followed the Metroid Prime games that had come out on the GameCube. So it had a bit of stiff competition from its own franchise. And it had a very different control style, as you can see on the footage. So the game wasn't very well received. I've had a quick playthrough with it, and it seems pretty good to me. Although I will admit, I prefer Prime. But it was nice to pick up a copy of this anyway. Now the next one, considering that I've got both Beatles and Green Day Rock Band games, when I saw Rock Band 2 come up, I thought, what the heck, I'll pick it up. It was only about £5. Now sadly, it's another game I couldn't play because of my arm. For anyone who's followed Rock Band and Guitar Hero and what have you, this was made by the original creators of Guitar Hero. Now I enjoyed the Beatles and Green Day versions, so I thought I'd pick this one up, especially after checking out the set list on the back. Definitely a very interesting title. Now I'll do these as a pair here. I got Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U. Now I've already got these two on the Switch, which led me to wanting to pick these up on the Wii U as well. Now as we all know, the developers of this game actually had a lot of difficulties trying to get the game finished, and it surprises me, to be honest, that Nintendo, of all companies, would swoop in and save them, considering their family-friendly nature and these games being, well, rather raunchy at times. Still, they are fantastic beat-em-ups, and I would recommend them to any gamer over 18. Now, I'll tell you, I found it extremely difficult trying to buy these two games. It's not because of their rarity or anything, they're not actually rare at all, but for some reason the CEX staff who served me on the two occasions I tried to buy these games seemed to be getting the discs mixed up. They kept getting the Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 discs muddled up, so they were putting them in the wrong cases. At one point they were giving me 2 copies of Bayonetta 2 instead of one of each, and it was an absolute mess. But in the end, finally managed to get a hold of both games. Right, so now we've got the Nintendo games out of the way, let's get a few Sony ones done. Now the first one that I've got here is Rick and Morty Virtual Rick-Ality. Now this was a game I picked up new, Now, it's based on the TV series and it's got the original voice actors in it as well. Now, from what I've heard, there were many bugs in this game when it first came out, but luckily the devs are actually pretty active on Reddit, and especially on the PSVR subreddit, and they got a lot of feedback from players and other Redditors, and then they went ahead and fixed the problems based on that feedback, which is really good. I'm really looking forward to trying this game out when my arm is better. Next one I picked up on a whim was WipeOut 2048. Now, sadly, I don't have a PlayStation TV, so again I'm going to show you trailer footage for this. I'd only played this once before on the PS4's version of WipeOut, because it includes all of the tracks and everything from 2048 as well. Now, I tried this quickly on my Vita and it runs like a dream. It's got beautiful graphics on it, it's really quick, it's everything you want out of WipeOut. Next up, we have a game which I took a bit of a chance with actually, and that is R-Type Final on the PlayStation 2. Now, I loved the original games, and from the playthrough that I've had of this game, it does seem to be more of the same. It's mostly 3D, but it seems to be a whole new game with new mechanics as well. You can choose from a variety of different ships and weapons and power-ups, and it's just a great shoot 'em up. R-Type is always a great shoot 'em up. We've got another PlayStation 2 game here, and that is SoulCalibur II. As you can guess from the name, it's a sequel to the original SoulCalibur. I've got that on my Dreamcast, and I've got SoulCalibur II already on the GameCube. If there's anything that anyone knows about the SoulCalibur II home releases, is that every console got they got a different added character on each one. I've got the GameCube one already, which has a Link from The Legend of Zelda on it. The PlayStation 2 one has, if I can pronounce this, is Heihachi Mishima from Tekken. It's not really much to say about SoulCalibur 2. It's one of your run-of-the-mill 3D fighting games, and I'm terrible at these games, but you know, now maybe I can get some practice in. Now, speaking of SoulCalibur 2, it's probably worth me moving over to the Xbox games, because I also picked it up on the Xbox. Haha! That means I've got now all 3 home console releases of this game. The added character on this one is apparently Spawn from the Spawn comic book series. Never heard of him personally, but I'm sure it's going to be very interesting playing with a different character on each one now that I've got all 3. Now, I've got no excuse to be bad at it, to be honest. Another Xbox title that I picked up was GoldenEye Rogue Agent. Now, I've played this a little bit on the PS2 in the past, and it's essentially, well, it's a James Bond game where you're an absolute badass. The graphics are actually pretty good, I mean, but the controls, it's no GoldenEye 007, let's put it that way. So if you like your first-person shooters, this is a really good, cheap game that you can pick up. Now, the last game that I got for Xbox is Project Gotham Racing 2. This is kinda-ish Microsoft's answer almost to Gran Turismo on the PlayStation. It's kind of simulation, kind of arcade racing game. And I only picked it up for 50p. I thought it was worth a shot. And you know what, actually, when I was recording the footage for this video, I actually found myself really enjoying it. So if you like your racers, again, I would recommend this one, especially since it's so cheap. Next up, we have the Dreamcast, and the game that I picked up for that is Power Stone. A lot of YouTubers go on about this game, and it's about time that I picked up a copy. It's pretty much Capcom's answer to Smash Brothers, essentially. It's a 3D open plan fighting game where you collect Power Stones to power yourself up and defeat your opponent. It can be multiplayer as well. I think it could go up to 4 players. It really is a lot of fun, and it's worth picking up if you see it. Moving on over to the Mega Drive really quickly, I picked up a copy of Sonic and Knuckles. This is the second half of Sonic 3, if you read up on it. It was Sonic 3 was meant to be bigger than it actually is, but instead it was split up into 2 different halves, and this is the second half. I've not tried any other carts in it, but I don't expect to get anything more than just a few bonus levels. Definitely worth a pickup if you see it. So this next Mega Drive game, I don't know how popular it is, but we definitely had it when I was growing up. It's Gachapon. It's a game that was influenced by the rollerblade fad that was around in the mid-90s. It's a racing game that works similarly to Road Rash, where you've got to beat up your opponents in order to get first. I never had a Mega Drive when I was growing up, but my brother did, and he had a copy of this game, and we actually went through this quite a lot. It's really fun. So if you like Road Rash, then it's definitely worth picking up if you see it. Okay, so that was all of the games that I'd picked up over the last couple of months. I hope you enjoyed it. Were there any of these games that you've played, or maybe you've not even heard of some of these games? Let me know down below. But I'm going to sign off now, and I'm going to give my arm a little bit of a rest. I'll let you get back to your games. Take care. Thank you so much for watching the vid, guys. Liked it? Disliked it? If you've got a second, let me know how you felt down below. And while you're down there, if you want to see more of what I have to offer, go ahead and subscribe. I've got loads more ideas for future videos and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Oh, and here's all the other social media gubbins as well. Thanks again for watching, and you have yourself a great day.